We are live right now. So thank you very much, Mr. John, for granting us the interview for Woman Power Poland movement. I am editor in chief of the magazine, but also I represent women that are entrepreneurs. They have small and medium businesses. Some of them they have a big businesses, but we got lost in the masculine and feminine, uh, this finding a balance, and we actually would love to find a balance, and you are teaching women how to be feminine but also have their own life and their goals and ambitions.
A
Thank you very
balance,
much.
a balance of femininity and masculinity. That's our goal, is to have that.
Yes, indeed.
This is a new possibility in our world today. Now that women are supported to be independent, to be educated, to make
Yes,
money, to run companies, the world is becoming a better place. There's no question about it because of that. But relationships are suffering, and women are
indeed.
suffering because all unhappiness comes when your masculine and feminine sides are out of balance. And that's what people want today. You know, Maslow, famous psychologist about 80 years ago, he talked about the hierarchy of needs. And when your
Mhm.
survival needs and your security needs are pretty much fulfilled within your own power, you know, we live in a safer world. We can make money. We can have all these things. A shift happens in the human psyche. And that shift is just like we need food, we suddenly need emotional support, a new kind
Indeed.
of emotional support. And in the history of the world, it was never defined what that emotional support is for women or for men. And so, what I'm helping us is to define, okay, for men to understand, what is it that my wife needs or my girlfriend needs or the women in my life? What can I do for them to help them? Men always want to help. So we need to let
Yes.
go of the idea in relationships that women are here to help men. No, women are here to allow to help to, to allow men to help women. And ironically, if you allow a man to help you and you learn how to do that, to motivate him, you have to motivate. Okay. If you don't, and most women go, oh, why should I motivate it? I'm motivated. I give and give and give because you're a woman. You're designed, even though you don't have children, you have a biology that's designed to give and give and give. You have to give all
Mhm.
the time when you have children. And it's a wonderful experience if you also are receiving. You have to receive to then give. Otherwise, if you keep giving without receiving, you'll feel resentful, you feel overwhelmed, you feel exhausted, you feel disillusioned. You don't even want to be in a relationship with a man. And yet, that is disconnecting from your female side. Your female side is feeling gratitude, it's feeling happy,
Yes.
it's feeling joyful, it's feeling empathy, it's feeling compassion. All those positive kind of feelings, when you're having them, you're on your female side. But a woman could simply say, well, how can I feel that way? My husband's ignoring me. I
Yes.
understand. So your relationship is now not supporting your female side. So if you're, and this is for men who complain or for women who complain, if I was talking to a group of entrepreneurs and they were not having problems, it doesn't work to blame your audience, your clients and people. You have to look at yourself. How do I have to change myself? And I know that's a challenging thing for women to hear. Let me just acknowledge that because I already know women are adjusting themselves, changing themselves, doing as much as they think is possible to get this guy to give them what they want. But they haven't been educated on, now that we're at this new level of emotional need, how to articulate, communicate what you want,
Yes.
what you need in a language that will motivate him. See, this is
Yes.
and
That's true.
women often think men are so hot and cold, and they are. And what happens biologically is that when you fall in love, a new relationship, dopamine gets produced. Now,
That's
everybody
true.
today knows dopamine is pleasure and motivation. It activates you. So men have something biologically, which is that when sex is involved in the newness of a relationship, a huge amount of dopamine gets produced, which then raises testosterone up. And testosterone gives him energy, motivation, take action. You know, when my testosterone goes up, I can't just go do nothing. I've got to do something. All right. So you have motivation. Well, that's because the dopamine was so high in the beginning. When the dopamine goes back down, and it will, inevitably has to go down because
Yeah.
dopamine goes up when it's new and different.
Mhm.
Once new and different goes away, and the great thing is you feel comfortable, my marriage, I just come home. I know my wife loves me the way I am. She has no agenda to change me or improve me. I feel like I'm in heaven. I come home, I have somebody who loves me and appreciates me, or she comes home and she doesn't expect me to change in any way. If people could understand, this is the number one challenge that women
Yes.
have in a relationship and that men have. So it starts with women who nurturing is always to help a child. Okay. You want to help the child. You shouldn't do this. You should do this. You have a brain that can see everything that's wrong and you can see how to improve it, how to make it better. That's what nurturing is. Men, on the other hand, live in a world of everything. I'm not motivated unless there's a problem that I can solve. Okay. That's what motivates men. That's testosterone. If there's a problem and I can solve it, I'm needed, I have motivation. But that motivation is biologically stimulated with testosterone. And so the
Mhm.
newness of a relationship stimulates testosterone. So men become like hyper focused on doing things to make you happy. They have all the energy to do it, just like a fireman
Mhm.
who will sit around in a fire station for hours all day long, doing porn, taking drugs, watching TV, doing nothing. When that fire bell rings, he got all the energy in the world. Okay, so this is, and that's
Yeah.
exaggerated version, but that's men. And men have to feel a sense of I'm needed. Well, guess what happened today? Is that women, when they're independent, men don't get the message that we're needed.
That's true.
And
That's
it,
true.
it used to be like my father was the provider for my mother and the family of 7 children.
Yeah.
He knew he had to go to work every day. Otherwise, nobody's going to get fed. And my mother, whose dream was to have a big family and a nice neighborhood and all that, that was her dream. And then when the children grew up, then she became had her own business. She was very successful. She had the biggest bookstore in the country, uh, just without advertising. Even she was brilliant. And it was very sweet. She came to us when the last child was in school, and
Mhm.
she asked every child, well, now that you are all going to school, would it be okay for me to have my own business? It was very sweet. And I said, of course,
Mhm.
mom, do what you want. I'm a kid. I mean, sure. But it's finding you don't have to do it all at once, try to put
Yeah.
everything at the same thing. So I just want, that's one dynamic I just wanted to mention. I'm really a big fan. And it's not that there's one way for everybody. I'm
Yeah.
not in that camp, but I'm a big fan of civilization. And for civilization, we need babies. And for civilization, Japan will be extinct soon in 50 years because they're not having any babies. And all we have is old people. And they have big challenges. So the whole idea of population explosion has now been defunct. I mean, it's going down automatically. What we want is healthy families to make babies, to restore the attraction between men and women, to motivate men to make that commitment to share his life with a woman. See, a lot of men don't know
Mhm.
what their dignity is. The dignity is making a promise and following through, saying,
True.
I will do it and I can do it.
Yeah.
The problem, though, when I look at men who want divorce or having problems in their relationships, the relationship ends up bringing out the worst of them because they don't understand how to support and love a woman. And
Yes.
because he doesn't understand how to support a woman, it brings out the worst in her. And so this is what relationships potentially can do, is bring out the worst of us rather than bringing out the best of us. And that's what I'm trying to elaborate here, is that once we understand that there's a biological reality, this is not my theory,
Yes.
although I have a theory interpreting it, but the biological reality is that when men's testosterone levels drop, their stress levels will start to rise. Whenever a
True.
man is stressed, his testosterone levels are going down and his female hormone, estrogen, is going up. Now, turn that around. Whenever a woman is stressed, and this, you measure this, when her body's producing stress hormones, her estrogen is too low, her testosterone is too high.
Sure.
Testosterone is our male side. Estrogen is our female side. Why do I say that? Because when a woman is happy, her estrogen levels on average will be 10 times higher than a man's.
Mhm.
And when a woman is unhappy, she'll have the estrogen levels of a man. Conversely, a man, when he's happy, like right now, I'm happy, my testosterone levels will be on average 10
Mhm.
times higher than any woman. 10 times
Yeah.
higher. So men have a greater need to do things, to interact in ways that raises testosterone. And if they don't, then the
Mhm.
testosterone goes down and they become some of the symptoms of low testosterone in men are irritability, annoyance, frustration, anger. Most people think anger is, aggression in men is due to high testosterone. No, it's now proven it's low
Yes.
testosterone
True.
and high estrogen because they're feeling,
Mhm.
anytime you're feeling emotion, that's estrogen.
Mhm.
So right now I'm feeling passion. I love teaching this. I love
Mhm.
these ideas. I know how important they are. So I feel the emotion of this in my tone of voice, but I'm not angry. Say the anger would only come in if I was feeling I was not safe, or I would feel that I'm not confident. I would feel that I'm not doing the right thing and somebody's keeping me from being in control of what I have to do. So when men start losing confidence that they're solving the problem, their testosterone goes down and their estrogen goes up, and then they feel anger or they feel fear or they feel hurt. These emotions in men, if they talk about those emotions
Mhm.
at that time, they will only get harder, bigger and bigger and bigger. But if a woman is to talk about her emotions at that time, her estrogen will go higher and her stress will go down.
True.
So this is like
That's
amazing. It's
true.
amazing. So
You are right. You are right. I agree with you, John. And what you are saying, actually, it's really, really important because actually it's the opposite. When we are stressed, testosterone goes up. When they are stressed, estrogen goes up,
yes,
right?
yes.
And so, what a woman, like any woman internationally, can do to make a man feel needed and to raise his testosterone, because we read 100 books, yours as well, how to raise estrogen, dresses, dancing, feminine circles. What about men? What can we do to raise his testosterone?
Well, that's good. I think you quoted from
Yeah.
my book, Beyond Mars and Venus, and that's
Yes,
really important. Is that in Poland right now? Beyond Mars and Venus?
I saw it in the bookstores,
Okay, good.
online. Yes.
That everything I say about hormones and all that,
Yes.
the upgraded version. I'm still in line with, of course, everything in Men Are From Mars, Women Are From
Yeah.
Venus. It's just that we need a new book, a new approach to deal with the new
Yes.
challenge. The
Hmm.
challenge, 50 years ago, the challenge was just men trying to understand women and give women what they
Yes.
need. But now there's a whole new understanding because when women on their male side, men don't know what to do. And women over here on their male side don't know how to get back so easily. So
Yes.
the big concept here is the meta view is for women to have a whole idea. I'm going to use my husband. I'm going to use my husband to make me happy. And by
Nice.
doing that, I will make him happy. Okay. So you don't overgive. You don't do anything to make him happy. What you do is you make him happy by letting him make you happy. That's the priority. Now, that's a big statement. It's not that extreme, but you have to go in that direction of
Mhm.
how much am I overgiving? So you can just look at, if you're happy, then you don't have to apply any of this stuff. You're already doing it. Okay. So, but if you're stressed in a relationship, often what your mind does, it starts comparing. It
Yeah.
will start to compare and say, well, I'm doing this. I did this. He didn't do that. Okay. Now you're comparing. Comparing is
Yeah.
the thief of happiness. It's the thief. So that's one version of comparing. And this is just important for us to be aware of. If you're a woman, that tendency of where you start to compare, you're already in a stress state. You have to
Yeah.
stop that pattern. And I'll tell you how to stop that pattern. But the
Thank
first
you.
thing is the mind is, can you relate to that thing of comparing? I'm giving this, he didn't give this. Can you relate to that?
Of course, yes, because we in Poland, we are Mother Teresa from Calcutta, all of the women,
Uh, I tell you,
and
that's
we are mamas to
right.
everyone. We want to save the poor man, and we overgive. This is the tendency here, like 99%.
And in the beginning, it works
Yes.
because your mind is saying, if I give more, I will get more. That's logical. That's what
Oh,
everybody says. Mother Teresa, give more. Forget that. Although I don't want to talk about Mother Teresa, but she wasn't in a marriage relationship. Okay, just to put it that.
Yes, yes, I'm just joking. I'm just
Okay,
comparing that we want to overgive, be
yes, yes,
good,
yes.
and to please a man, but
Because then now we're
as I
going to learn
learned from you, it doesn't work.
it doesn't work, and that's
No,
because we're at
it's
a
even
new.
worse.
Yes, it's very worse. It's very worse because we're at this new level of
Yeah.
consciousness where we're looking to each other for emotional support. And
Yes,
when you're giving to a man in the beginning, you anticipate getting back. And
true.
therefore you feel really good because you think
Yeah.
it's coming. Like if I gave you a check for $1 million and there's no money in the bank, but I gave you a check for $1 million, you're going to be so happy. You try to cash the check and it doesn't pass. Then you're really upset with me. So
Yes.
when women are giving to men, then they get mad at him because he didn't reciprocate. So
Yeah.
one of the differences between men and women is, and first of all, let's just look at a little biology here. It's always good because people like to say, oh, this is all ridiculous. No, this is biology. This is reality.
Yeah.
We we are all born with all men are born with the same genes that women have, except they have this Y chromosome. And this Y chromosome gets activated after 3 weeks. And then suddenly it overrides many of his female genes and creates the opposite. It's like a mirror reflection. So we're all little girls to start with, except little boy babies also have a Y chromosome. When it gets activated, then all kinds of shifts take place
Yeah.
because it creates this polarity. It overrides his female genes. Now, having said that, one of those female genes, and this isn't science, this is my observation, must be this tendency in women to reciprocate all the time. If you give to me, I
Yes.
will give to you. And as a
Double, double.
yeah, double. That's right. See, this is what men don't know about women. If I do a lot of little things for her,
Yes.
she'll be happy. All I
Yes.
want is her to be happy. So if I do a lot of little things, men don't understand another concept that's in women's genes, not so much in men's, which is, yeah, she will reciprocate. The next one is little things make a big difference. If we think about it on Venus and the female consciousness, leave the male out for a moment. You have a male side and a female side, but on the female side, every act of love is
Yeah.
equal to every act of love, big or small. So he can
Yes.
do something big. Okay, that's great. I feel so much love. 50 roses. That's fantastic. And then he comes home on Thursday and brings home one rose. Oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. It's almost the same reaction. Maybe the big one is a little bigger, but it's almost the same. Men don't
Yes.
understand that. We have a gene that says bigger is better. Everything,
Yes.
who remembers who wins the Super Bowl? It's the
Yeah.
quarterback or it's the guy who catches the touchdown pass. It's performance. Who does the best? Who does the biggest? That gets the love. So a man is always sort of feeling he's getting the message. It's not enough. It's not enough because in his mind, he's thinking that bigger is better. But on her planet, more of little along with a few bigs. So he doesn't know that. So what he does, he feels this huge burden. If his wife is unhappy, he feels like I'm already doing these big things and I can't do bigger. There's a limit to how much I can make right now. I can't do bigger. And she's unhappy. He feels if only I could make bigger, she'd be happy, but I can't. Therefore, nothing I do can make her happy. And so he feels this burden and and that's what men say when they're unhappy in relationships, by the way, almost always. Never, no matter what I do, it's not enough to make her happy. I mean, they will say she complains too much, she controls too much, and women aren't
Yes.
aware of how they control, but they know they complain or she nags. Men will say that. And it's true to various degrees in relationships, and nobody's perfect. But when men are getting to the point where I can't take it, what they say is no matter what I do, she's not happy. Because what's behind complaints and nagging and him feeling controlled is her unhappiness. And women can't sort of comprehend that because if I'm really happy, it doesn't necessarily make you happy if you're having a bad day. Not
Yes.
but if I'm having a bad day and I come home, my wife is just happy, it makes me happy. Okay.
Oh.
And just think about the difference here. let's say you're out, let's say you're the primary provider, just to make an extreme situation.
Yeah.
The woman's making all the money, the guy's staying home
Mhm.
taking care of the kids. And so she comes home stressed out from her day. And he says, honey, I have such a good time today taking care of the kids. And when they took their nap, I got to play video games for hours. I had such a good time. I'm just so lucky to have a wife like you who can make so much money so I don't have to work. How do you feel as a woman?
I don't care. I am stressed.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And on another deeper level, there's also I'm doing all the work.
Yes.
You're having all the fun.
Yes.
How dare you? How dare you?
Yes.
Now,
Listen to me.
yeah.
I
Now let's
I
take it.
am the poor girl today, but I
Yeah,
don't want to listen to your story that you are so happy.
that's right. That's right. So now 90%
Yeah.
of men, if not all, some men are just too far on their female side. They've left their male side. So I can't say all, but 90% of men that I've experienced, basically, if they're the sole provider, and they still exist, where the man's the sole provider and the wife's at home, she's raising children, and he's had a stressful day, he's burnt out.
Yes.
And this has happened to me. Okay. I'm talking about me.
Mhm.
And my work is hard. I've been opposed around the world. I did long trips. I gave audiences. People berate me. I've never had a positive print interview about me in America. All they do is,
Really?
yeah, they all tear me
Wow.
down. The video, I used to speak on national TV, and so there they loved me until I was canceled. But
Wow.
the print always canceled me. And so here I am having to face that. I deal with it. Okay, I'm a
Yeah.
champion here. You feel strong as a man when you overcome things and you don't whine about it. So I've learned
Yeah.
that about my being masculine is you don't complain, you don't whine, you suck it up. I mean, it's amazing to be masculine. And you don't need to be masculine, women. You need to be feminine, which means you need to talk about problems. Men need to not talk so much about problems, listen and do what's right to solve the problem. And
Yeah.
if the problem is your wife just needs to talk, which is the new emotional need that women have, they need it. They need to talk. They need to complain. They need to express feelings. They need to not be happy for a while and have somebody understand that she's not happy for a while. I was just doing a session with a client who's in a very scary situation, for example. I mean, her life's in danger. And whenever she talks about it, her boyfriend basically makes excuses and tells her, oh, you shouldn't be upset. And those people aren't so bad. And, God takes care of everything. Don't worry about it.
Mhm.
And that just makes her so angry inside.
Yeah.
And what I told her, just go to him and say, I know you're trying to help, but when I'm upset about someone, I
Yeah.
want you to pretend to be upset at that person.
Yeah.
Don't be upset with me for being upset about it. Just join me for a few minutes, even if you're faking it. I don't care. Just join it.
Mhm.
It was amazing. Now I learned this because I have a female side too. Every man does. And I remember once where I was really mistreated in some dramatic way. And I came home and I told my wife about it. It's rare that I will do this, but I'm really upset about this and I don't like this. And they did this. And what my wife does, very Zen like, she goes, well, John, the other side to this is probably they were just trying to do this and didn't know what to do. She made excuses for the person I was upset with. And now all of my upset from what's going on in my life got put on her. She becomes the enemy. And this is what couples
Yeah.
don't know is that you can't try to fix your partner when they're
Yeah.
upset with words like they shouldn't feel that way or make excuses. No, men have to learn how to listen. And they think they're listening. So when I say that, it means nothing to a man. But women have to explain. Listening means ask me a few questions. Don't give me any advice.
True.
Ask me a few questions, and I'm only going to talk for 10 minutes. This is teaching men how to listen. Because when you talk for more than 10 minutes, for most men, they start thinking in their head so much why you shouldn't feel that way. They get caught up in that. They can't hear you. So you can do it in bits and pieces if you need to do more. And the second thing is how you can, that will, by the way, when you talk about problems to a man and ask him just to listen and not invalidate, not to offer
Yes.
solutions, not to minimize, just listening will help me to feel better. And then I'll let it go. You have to,
Yeah.
he just needs to know that you'll let it go, that it actually has some purpose. Because think about this. If I'm upset, anytime a man is stressed, his estrogen's too high. What
Yeah.
raises estrogen? Talking about problems. So if I talk about my feelings to my wife when I'm upset, I'm only going to become more upset. And this is what women don't understand is they're not, men are not women. It's that when a man's upset, do not ask him questions. Do not
Yeah.
ask him what he feels. Do not use rhetorical questions. Often women will say things like, why did you say that? How could you do that? What were you thinking? Or why would you think that? Anytime you say those type of rhetorical questions, all that's going to happen is his estrogen is going to go higher because he's going to respond talking about the answer to that question. And his estrogen is going to go higher, his testosterone is going down because all those statements are saying is he's losing. When a man is losing, his testosterone goes down, his estrogen
Yeah.
goes up. His fight or flight, that's what fight or flight is that he's losing. He's powerless. He's not achieving his goal. Men need to feel that what their goal is. And now today, men don't know what their goal is. They just know I want to make my wife happy. They have no idea that little romantic things, little gestures of help, these are what I call biohacks that you can ask a man to do. You can say, I know you don't
Mhm.
understand this, but this is like me going to get a massage, but with you, it's more powerful, which is every day, give me 4 hugs. You run after me, find me 4 times a day and give me a hug. So I do it first thing in the morning, when I leave, when I come home, and before we go to bed. She'll usually go to bed before me. So I'll run. So, oh, honey, let me give you a hug before you go to bed. I love you so much. Those little things. So the way
Mhm.
men think is we have this other gene, and this gene's called the efficiency gene. Now, women have it too. It's just not as strong. Okay. But the efficiency gene means never do anything you don't have to do.
Yeah.
Never do
Well,
anything you don't have to do. So men don't know what you have to do to make women
yeah.
happy. All we know is make money, be successful in the outer world, and my wife will be happier. And even today, if there's a woman who's pregnant and she's got a child and her husband is out there working hard so she doesn't have to, she will be very happy with him. Why is she happy with him? Because she feels I need him. So what
Yes.
women have to learn to define inside themselves if they want to come back to their female side is to look at what do I need? So one of the
Yes.
things that we're talking about, you mentioned a few, which is just be happy in your life without a man. Okay, there's a
Mhm.
whole concept of actually it's a good thing to live alone without a man. A lot of people just they become in their 20s, they start living with a man and then divorce comes along. They need to live alone for a while. It's okay. Learn to live alone so you're creating a life so that
Mhm.
when you bond with him through sex, which is a big, big bonding thing, nature makes it very bonding. So a woman will never leave a man and a man will not leave a woman. Okay. So this is the bonding that happens in sex. I can talk about the hormones of that, but just the simple thing is that maybe you have a question about that.
We don't have a question about connecting via sex, but it's very interesting. So I would love to ask you because right now, the woman, we don't know when shall we have sex after third date, after 1 month, when he falls in love, when he tries hard to get you,
Yeah.
and this is actually interesting because I know why the men fall in love because they try hard to get her and they do effort. But once we go into sexuality, we get connected because of the oxytocin. But please explain, because I know this.
Yes.
That's why I want to get to know the partner before I go into bed with him.
You know,
Otherwise, I will have pink glasses on.
this is, this is such wisdom. And it sounds so prudish of me to say this. I'm a man.
Yes.
I would not like if I'm married, many years back,
Yeah.
but when I was a single guy, my
Mhm.
objective was to get sex. All right. And
Yes.
that was it.
Normal.
Now,
Every man.
every man, that's how we're born to do.
Every
This is
man
nature
tries.
they put men, they put something inside of men. They're always
Yes.
scanning who would be genetically
Mm-hmm.
appropriate. My body's telling me, okay, I don't get turned on to just any woman. I get turned on to certain women. Okay. So my
Yeah.
body knows that. I'm not thinking, gee, she has this quality, that quality. No, my body just does it. This is for men, this guy, the only way it goes up is the unconscious mind. He cannot
Yeah.
consciously control it. So when that goes up, whoa, okay, that's my job is to win her over. Now,
True.
when he wins her over, his testosterone level go up, his dopamine goes up, his
Yes.
testosterone goes up. Now he's motivated. Remember, this motivation gene is, it will go away after the beginning. I did mention that, because the dopamine raises the testosterone.
Yeah.
Familiarity sets in after he's a conquest, after you're the conquest, so to speak. Uh, then there's no longer any dopamine. Okay. It's like once
Mhm.
things are easy. So take the same idea. When you're easy, right away, the
Yeah.
testosterone goes away. So that's one way of looking at it. And, there's old wisdom, play hard to get, because there was some wisdom in that. Basically, it's not, and the logic of it is really true. Don't play. I'm all about authenticity, but don't pursue a man.
Yeah,
When you
true.
find yourself pursuing a man, uh, he doesn't have the space to pursue you.
True.
And if he doesn't pursue you, then he doesn't have the rise of testosterone. And men only bond with women when their testosterone levels go really high and their estrogen levels go really high and the
Mhm.
oxytocin has a bonding thing. But that's particularly for women, the oxytocin thing. For men, right after sex, his testosterone levels drop. They will drop. This is proven.
True.
They drop 20%. That's a significant drop. They drop 20%. And so the only way men can, one of the major ways men rebuild testosterone is by being independent. Okay. When
Mhm.
I'm responsible, I've got to support my family. I've got to make money. I've got to do this thing. I've got to watch the clock, make sure we get everything in you want to do in this interview. That's testosterone production, is when I'm
True.
feeling completely accountable and responsible for the results I want to create. So he will pull back. So every woman's experienced how men are like hot and cold. He's so passionate. He's there. No, the joke is in the movies, he turns over and has a cigarette, he goes to sleep. And so he shifts from being connected to his female side. Estrogen goes up so high, it knocks his testosterone down. He needs to
Mhm.
pull away. When he pulls away, this is the problem. His association with you is his testosterone goes down. And so he is
Mhm.
not connected. He completely disconnects to you after sex. If he was already emotionally bonded to you and mentally bonded to you and possibly even spiritually bonded to you because you have similar values. So he's connected with you with similar values. I admire the way you think. I like the way you think. I enjoy having conversation with you. I've done things for you and you've appreciated me. That's the main emotional need has been fulfilled. His emotional need is fulfilled. Then when his testosterone goes down, he has still a bond with you. He's still
Yeah.
bonded with you
True.
as opposed to no bond. And this is
True.
biology. This is
True.
proven. If you go on the porn sites, the porn is the biggest business in the world practically. And they measure how long do men stay on porn sites. This average, a total of 8 minutes.
Wow.
That means you go on the site, you look through
Yeah.
all the women until something clicks inside of you. Then you do it and you're done. A whole thing, the whole relationship is 8 minutes.
Wow.
and when men do that, they don't return. Okay. They always
Yeah.
move on to another one. So having sex without an emotional bond actually changes a man's biology, different from if I have sex when I have an emotional bond with this woman.
True.
So this is now the evidence that shows when a man is married to a woman, so they have an emotional bond, he has a commitment to her. When he has that commitment to her, she's more important than anybody else. I'm committed to you. Then when those men who are committed, when they have sex, they measure their hormones in their body. And what they find is those men produce a lot of prolactin. Now,
Mhm.
what prolactin does is interferes with his desire to have sex with other women. If he has sex with a woman he doesn't have an emotional bond with, not only does he associate 20% less testosterone with her, but he also has no prolactin that makes him want to go back to her, but instead makes him want to go find a new and different experience.
True.
So this is like, think about the mastermind of this universe says, okay, now if men have sex with a woman and you don't bond, well, go find another one, go find another one. Go. And part of that bonding is that she's bonding with him. You can't fully
Yes.
bond with a man on an emotional level until he's done things for you. He's gotten to
True.
know you. You feel safe with him. Now, the irony here, again, that everything gets a little complex, but we can make it simple. Many women grow up with absent fathers.
True.
When you have an absent father or an angry father or alcoholic father, they're unavailable to you. They're just, that causes them to be unavailable. So what will happen is there's this lingering subconscious need to find an unavailable man and win him over. We all want our mothers and fathers to love us. So this is known in psychology, is that when you have an injury with your father, you will tend to be immediately turned on to unavailable men, the wrong man. So you'll see some of these women are turned on to dangerous men. So that's a perfect thing, that your dad was dangerous. This is a dangerous man. Oh, I have to please him. And the way that shows up, because it's in the unconscious mind, is sexual arousal. So if a
Mhm.
woman has had the experience of going out with guys, having sex, and they're never available, they never follow up, it could be that you're not interpreting your body's signals, because here's somebody you don't even know, who hasn't even done anything for you, who's not safe, who doesn't have the qualities that you would like, but you're all turned on. And you think that just because I'm turned on, I got to have it. Well, that's just like child. I got to have daddy's love, daddy's approval. That's the subconscious feeling. And the way it activates you is by turning you on with your wrong person. So some women with these wounds, they get turned on by violence. Okay. They want to be slapped around. They want to be mistreated. You see it all on the internet. Now our world's so dysfunctional. Then it's crazy what goes on in porn. But danger causes these women, not all women, if you had a loving father and you feel, you have a clear picture of I can get what I need from a healthy man. No, I have to change a man to be loved.
True.
So you get turned on to the wrong person. So the summary of this story is, if you're turned on to a man right away, he's the wrong man in most cases. And if you
Thank
that
you very much, John. Sorry to interrupt you, but this case, we have plenty of alcoholics in Poland, not now anymore. People, my generation, around 40, we don't drink so much, but we were raised in a families that most of the fathers were alcoholics and absent.
yeah.
So for us, it's a big issue. So thank you very much for sharing this for our ladies, because they will know why they run after unavailable men.
And also running after is they're turned on to. I mean,
Yes.
you feel you feel passion. It's the same thing that happens to men when men go to a
Mhm.
prostitute or when they do porn. For a moment, they're so turned on, but it's an unhealthy
Yeah.
circumstance. Okay, so the way you do it is you just stop doing that pattern. It's not that hard. Okay, if
Mhm.
that could be a pun for a guy, but it is hard. But just don't turn it on. I wrote a whole book. I don't do porn, but I had to. I understand with my clients what porn does to them and so forth. So I wrote a book on it, and I had to go on porn to see it. And I watched that. My body just took over, and I masturbated. It just did it by itself. It was crazy. I don't
Yeah.
masturbate. See, part of male's power is don't masturbate. You only give your energy to a woman who can give that energy back.
Yeah.
Anytime a man has sex with a fantasy, a woman he doesn't love, then what happens is that life force is gone out of him, one, and two, his desire to have sex again increases. So you get addiction to sex, just like cocaine. It doesn't give you anything except the high stimulation of dopamine. And then your receptor sites downregulate. Now you have to go for that high stimulation. I was just
Mhm.
counseling one woman, and her husband becomes violent in order to have an ejaculation. And
Yes.
even to masturbate, it becomes so intense. It's like he has to get his cocaine fix. It's addiction. It's addiction to orgasm, ejaculation. And so,
Mhm.
for me, the blessing in my life was that when I was a young teenager having lots of sex in the 60s, I started, I take a lot of, Woodstock. Everybody got really high for
Wow.
3 days, and I crashed down. It was rock and roll, sex, drugs, the whole thing. And I crashed. I mean, I hit bottom. And then I got turned on to meditation. The Beatles had said you can get high without having to crash. So I am high. I've meditated every day. I've been meditating 50 years. It's a big part of my life. Not the only part of my life, but it's a foundation which freed me from addictive cravings, or at least made it easier. But the first thing you learn if you really want to master meditation it was in my 20s. So I was a celibate monk for 9 years, never masturbated for 9 years, gave up sex, gave up all that. So now I'm free from that. So I don't have to have sex. I only have to have sex with my partner. I'm not like walking around horny all the time, but I get in bed with her and I'm horny. This is freedom. And
Yeah.
men could just see this is freedom. One of the most famous philosophers, Alan Watts. Have you familiar with that name, Alan Watts? He's an American, but he was great back in the 60s.
Okay.
When he was my age, I'm 73, he was around 73, and he was saying that finally the dragon is dead. Because he was constantly having to deal with his addictions and with
Yeah.
his lust for his students and all these different things. No real love in his life, no commitment to marriage and so forth. And, I'm over here and I'm 73 and my dragon is completely alive. My testosterone levels are 50% higher than when I was a young man, a very active sex life with my wife. And it's not the most important thing in my life. It's one of the important things. It's like meditation is important, service in life. And when women bond with men, they have to remember that's a strong bond. Sex brings up this
Yes.
strong bond. And it's very easy to disconnect from, I have a whole life that can make me happy when he's ignoring me.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know men have to ignore you. They have to have their own life and they will
Yes.
take it. They will pull back. They will, go on a fishing trip for 3 days. Well, honey, oh, that hurts my feelings because I feel abandoned when you leave for 3 days. And, and then he feels controlled. You see how emotions can make a man feel controlled. And so what she had to learn is no, you don't have to be with your partner all the time. That's your childlike part of your brain. Whenever you're feeling hurt, which is a real feeling, but just know it's the unconscious part of your brain. It's your childhood wounds being triggered, feeling abandoned and neglected. And the same thing when you're turned on to a man who hasn't earned his way in. So the question comes, well, when do you have sex? Well, I think the older you get, the quicker you can have sex because you already have a sense of who you are. But as we're growing towards our 50s, we really don't know ourselves fully. And anybody who's in their 60s and 70s will tell you that. Okay. You can think you know it all when you're young. you, all the things that I got upset about, all the things that bother me, not important, not important. Wisdom of age will tell you that. So we just don't know who we
Yeah.
are yet fully. So in those younger years, up to 50, let's say, and even into 60, whatever, if you're turned on, a simple piece of wisdom, if you're turned on to a man right away, first of all, run the other direction. That means because it's that pattern inside of you, the
Yeah.
man who is right for you is
Yeah.
wanting you more than you want him. Okay. He wants you more than you want him. You don't have this strong sexual attraction. You, to the extent that you have this pattern of running after unavailable men, to that extent, the right man will be very boring. That's what it's saying. That's
Yeah.
always this boring. It just doesn't turn me on. It doesn't excite me. Yeah. Because you're like an alcoholic addicted to the stimulation. Everything in life is boring. So
Yeah.
you have to realize you have to go through a recovery. You have to go into recovery, which means be available to men who are interested in you, who don't excite you, and let them do things for you. And those guys are not going to push to have sex right away, and some of them will. But you still don't want to have sex with them. Or so, then what you can say to them is when they're pushing and navigating, we all have egos, and when you get rejected sexually, it can knock a man down. But when you say no to sex and whatever, however, the newness is there. His testosterone's high enough so he can handle it if you just use the right communication. In many cases,
Okay.
this is what will work. You just simply say when he's negotiating more, could be you're making out or kissing or touching. And then the appropriate thing to say from my point of view is something along, okay, let's go slow. Let's go slow. Uh, and then he's going, oh, but don't you want it? Well, yes. Well, then the negotiation pushes and then your people pleaser. Okay, I'll do it for you. If you have sex for him, boom, he'll lose
Yeah.
attraction for you. That do never have sex for him, have sex for yourself. But of course,
True.
many times what I'm suggesting, even when you feel I want to have sex, still go slow. And the thing to say in either case is as he's negotiating, that's what men do, and people do that, and that's perfectly normal. Then you say something along the lines of, I really love this. I really like this. And I know that when we have sex, it's going to be so great. But from my past experience, or for me, I need to go slow. I'm a little old fashioned. And, and that's it. So what he walks away
Yeah.
with is, oh, victory. She wants to have sex with me. She's just not ready. It's a
Yeah.
very important one little distinction. I'll give you another example of that in my own marriage. When I write books, I've got 30 books behind me that I've written, and I'm
Mhm.
writing one this month too. So on this very subject. Uh, how does this book title sound to you? Men from Mars, Women from Venus for women only. Do you think that'd be a good book?
Wow.
Is
Yeah,
it?
why not?
Okay, I think it's good because then everything I'm saying here is in that book. That's why it's coming up
Yeah.
with conversation. And so when you actually do it, it's the younger you are, you take longer. That's a
Yeah.
concept. The next one is he has to earn his way in. First of all, he has to be a guy that you're not turned on to right away. Otherwise, it'll be too easy for him to get in. And usually, if you're turned on right away, it's the wrong guy anyway. He's the guy who isn't totally exciting you, whatever. But
Mhm.
what you're going to do is practice not being a people pleaser. Okay. You're
True.
going to practice not being a people pleaser, trying to agree with somebody, trying to be agreeable. But you can be agreeable without agreeing with people. So this is where my book, Mars, Venus on a Date, comes into play. A lot of conversation skills so that you don't ever give up your truth to a man, but you don't convey your truth to a man that challenges or makes him wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. So it would look along the lines of, you both disagree. You're a Republican and Democrat, whatever, and you're having a conversation. Boy, that's big, fiery in America, big time. Oh, it's crazy. It's because people don't have a sense of self. When you
True.
have a sense of self, then you don't get upset when somebody has a different point of
True.
view. So this emotional drama doesn't come into it. And boy, do men want a woman who don't have that emotional drama. And certainly women don't want a man who has that emotional drama.
True.
So we have to learn how to have conversations where you can have different points of view. Now, I'm going to tell you the secret to this is with a man, whenever he has a point of view, if you don't agree with it, you always say, well, that makes sense, or
Mhm.
that's a good idea, or tell me why you think that. Give me more examples and be open to hearing his point of view.
Yeah.
These are magic phrases for men. You can use them with a woman too, but men, but particularly I'm saying for women, that makes sense. What a good idea. Help me understand that better. As opposed to, well, I disagree. Or I can't believe you would say that. Well, you shouldn't think this. Well, that's not the case. This
True.
is such a turnoff to men. And today we're being taught by all the experts, be authentic, be authentic, be authentic in a reasonable way. Okay.
Yes.
In a
True.
way that doesn't put somebody down, that doesn't oppose somebody, doesn't create conflict. But then once you've done that, well, that makes sense. That's a good idea. I have a different point of view. My feelings are this, or I think this and this and this. And then he won't feel so like I have to change you because you've already set the role, the ground
Mhm.
where I'm not trying to change you. So this is a key thing. You need conversation starters. Men need women to have conversation starters. You're the ones about relationship. You read all the books on relationships. You've got the ability to talk more than most men. I'm a good talker when I'm solving problems. My poor wife says, do you have anything to say to me? No, I have nothing to say. I done my work today, but give me a problem. Ask me a question. I'll certainly give you an
True.
answer. Be specific. And when you ask a question of a man, don't say, how do you feel about that? Now, for me, it would
Yeah.
work because I'm very adept, but you say to him, what do you think about this? What do you think about
Okay.
that? What do you think about this? I just watched this hearing on TV. What do you think about this when they said that? And let him express himself. Be interested and curious. You don't have to agree with somebody to have the right partner for you
True.
because different points of view actually can create more passion. It's the differences that create the attraction. It's the polarity. Your partner's never going to be exactly like you. There's a great scene in Seinfeld, a very funny comedian scene. He's a very funny guy. And finally, he had a girlfriend. They were doing really well. And then he broke up. And they said, why did you break up? He says, well, she's amazing. She knows all my jokes. She can finish every joke. It's like being with me, but I don't want to be with me. I want to be with somebody else. That's what a relationship is. So
Yes.
this is where we have to work out the details of how women can ask for help. And most women who are very confident, they feel embarrassed to ask for help. And ironically, the romance, by the way, is the most powerful stimulator of estrogen in a woman to bring her back to her female side. Okay, other things can do it for sure, and she should have those other things in her life, so that his duty, so to speak, is not to make her happy, make her feel feminine. His duty is to help her feel happier, to take her to a higher level.
Mm-hmm.
And that
True.
higher level is done by doing lots of little things. Uh, my daughter has a whole course called Understanding Men, and we were editing it together. And she said,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, when my partner goes to his cave, that means men taking his alone time.
Yes.
When he comes back, he's always more romantic. And I said, well, what is, and I'm not thinking, well, I come out of my cave, I'm not always so romantic. And then she said, well, he'll just go in and empty the trash, or he'll just start, cleaning up the kitchen. And I said, and that's romantic? And she goes, Dad, of course. But
Yeah.
but if she was upset with him and he
Mm-hmm.
did those things, it wouldn't be romantic. So you have to be at a certain level of I'm happy and fulfilled. Then the little things that men can do for you really raise your estrogen higher. So it's kind of like getting a mindset. My partner's job is not to make me happy. His job is to make me feel safe, but also to make me happier. But we do have to provide that safety. And men don't understand, if my wife said to me, and she did in the beginning, John, when I talk to you, I don't feel safe. And when you say that to a man, he's thinking, well, you think I'm going to beat you up? I've never hurt a woman. You think that's the weakest man in the world is going to hurt a woman. So I'm not going to do that. I have some values. She says, no, I don't think you're going to beat me up or anything. But when you judge me and my heart is open, or you're critical of me, or you correct me, it hurts. And I
True.
went, oh, okay. So I shouldn't do that. She said, yeah, that's a good idea. Then I occasionally would do it again. She just said, okay, hold on. Right now, I just need to talk about my feelings. Don't talk. Don't speak. And that's a powerful phrase. And on a deep level, a man goes, you mean I can just listen and be successful? You just have to give him the pathway to feeling successful. Now, part of the challenge in this is, my book, I talk about how women need to talk and men need to listen. What women do is, I didn't sort of finish it in Men Are From Mars, but if you're talking about your feelings and you want him to listen, you have to speak in a language that he's going to hear. And if what you're saying is in any way giving the message to him that he's a failure, that he's not good enough, that he's not doing the right things, if that's what your feelings are trying to correct him, he can't hear it. He just can't hear it.
Yeah.
And it should be a grown up one. Oh, yeah, sure. Those women that will say, oh, he should be able to hear anything. Imagine him saying to you everything that's going on inside of him. You couldn't hear that. And you would just think, well, he's terrible. So the reality is, if you're in an intimate relationship, it's different communication than if you're just talking to somebody. The press has given me so much bad stuff. It doesn't affect me. The only time it really got to me is when they wrote a terrible article and some kid brought it to school. And my children heard the article at school and they were hurt by that. Now that got to me. I was really angry about
Yeah.
that. But generally, I have to have armor on. I've got my armor. My mother taught me sticks and stones will break your bones, but words can't harm you. So that's important. Simple message, man. And
Sorry. This is our our special guest, Tiger.
Tiger. So good to see you.
Yes,
So
my
anyway,
God.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
men are so soft today. And anytime
Yeah.
you're an alcoholic or you drink, you'll become softer and softer. Anything where you go too far to your female side, then your feelings get hurt. And then
Yes.
men really become bad at that point. So he becomes angry. So if a man is angry, a woman should immediately leave the room. She should not. And
Bravo.
the most
Bravo for
important
saying
thing,
that.
and don't say,
Yes.
and when you leave the room, you don't say, don't talk to me that way. Now you're engaging him. Just simply say, I need some time and then we can talk again.
Yes.
And that's what
Yes.
a man should say too. I need some time and we'll talk again. Don't tell your partner they're doing something wrong when somebody's angry or upset. Imagine a man saying to you when you're upset, you're just making a big deal out of nothing. You're irrational.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to make you more upset. You can make a woman go crazy if you talk to her like that, if you're in a sexual relationship. Because in a sexual relationship, you've given someone the power to change
Mhm.
how you feel.
Yes. True.
There's nothing more powerful on a person. When a woman has sex, she's so vulnerable. I'm letting you take me to places of total surrender and opening and bonding. I'm giving you the
Mhm.
power to affect me. So men cannot understand that because we have more muscle mass. It tends to protect us more, but we can be affected after sex. Sex brings us back to like the vulnerability of a child, even though we're not children.
Yeah.
But even couples, honey, sugar, sweetheart, ugo ugo,
Mhm.
and that's all. This is how we were as children. All this unconditional, joyful love.
Yeah.
That means we're opening up this part of us that lets somebody affect us more. So that's why
Yeah.
couples who start out, but once they start having sex, and that's the problem with sex. Again, you have sex too soon without bonding and without commitment. So from my point of view, when to have sex with a woman is, because we talked about that, is when
Yeah.
he's committed, when you have a relationship, when
True.
you have a vision that you're going to have more in this. And this is not a one night stand. This is not a 6 month booty call. This is not friends with, when you do friends with benefits. And I know it sounds like a bummer of a young man. I heard that, oh, I would love to have friends with benefits, because I don't know myself. I don't know that my life becomes emptier and emptier when I have intimacy with a woman that I don't love. Having a commitment to not be with other people, to a commitment to see
Hmm.
if this relationship could turn into something much more intimate, much more long term. That would be a prerequisite for me if I was a woman. And it would
Yeah.
be a prerequisite for me when I was out having sex. I realized that I was lots of girlfriends. After being a monk, I went out into the world, and a big story, but I had sex with a lot of women. And then I realized I hurt all of them because
Yeah.
I was like such a perfect lover, but it was just in the moment. It reminded me of the story of Don Juan, who had sex with this woman and loved her, and then moved on to another woman, another woman, another one. Finally, his life was empty. He went back to that first woman, and
Yeah.
he said, please, I want to love you. And what she said to him is, no, you, Don Juan, have the power, the ability to make a woman feel like she's everything, and
Yeah.
then you disappear. And that's the truth of most men. It's not that we're narcissists or whatever. It's that when we have an erection, it's a huge different emotional hormonal balance. When a man has an erection, his estrogen levels go to higher levels than he could ever have in real life. It's a
Hmm.
temporary, estrogen's bonding and loving, and I depend on you, I'll always be there for you. So all that estrogen goes so high that at that time he feels, yes, you're the only one. I want to be with you forever. You're it. And then boom, it
Yeah.
crashes down, and his testosterone goes down. And this goes back and forth for a while. But each time when his estrogen goes high, when gets an erection, he's like on a drug trip. That's what you have to understand. He's not
Oh,
like some men are secretly doing this. Okay. Some men are complete frauds. They completely fake. They say all the words to get into the bed. That's another reason why
yeah.
you want to go slow. He has to earn his way in. And
Of
and if
course.
and
Yeah.
if you're turned on to that guy who's lying to you, clearly, if you're turned on, he hasn't done everything he's promised to do, run the other way.
You are right, John, and I agree completely with you. And thank you for sharing this, because many women ask me, privately, because we in Poland don't talk much about sex,
Yeah.
because it's kind of money, and sex is kind of a taboo still here. I came back to Poland after 15 years. I used to work for Forbes and Harvard Business Review, doing reports about investment. And, when I came back here, I was like, clash of civilizations, and I see that women are afraid, to set the boundaries, stop, wait, and actually it's very true what you said, because the man that is interested, he will wait, and the
Yeah.
man that is only interested in sex, he will disappear, and this is, thank you, Lord, let him go
Yeah,
away,
yeah,
right?
he's not, men are not all bad, okay? There's some really
No.
bad guys, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of really good guys. But when
Yeah.
they get an erection, they can't discern if what they're feeling is overwhelming
True.
to them in a sense. They just feel like you're gold. But once that testosterone goes down, it can just flatten out. So
True.
if you've already taken time to bond, and the key to this is keep appreciating him, and then he'll make his moves.
True.
And I'm really attracted to you. I just need to go slow. That leads him on.
True.
I was going to give you in a positive way. And then if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
True.
So you give your life force away if you're a woman, just like a man does porn. If you have sex with a man who hasn't committed to you, you're giving your life force away. You
Right.
can look at all the prostitutes as they get older, their life force is gone. When you have an
True.
orgasm with somebody who's not matching a reality, it's a fantasy. See, it's just it's not reality. You're giving
True.
your life force away, and you lose your femininity. So you can always
And
regain it. There's always hope. That's the great thing. Amend your ways, practice living alone for a while if you find that, being happy, and then being open to the men that
Yeah.
are drawn to you that you wouldn't be sexually attracted to right away. That's the
Yeah.
safest thing to go. If you have a history, this is just one pattern. If you have a history of unavailable men or having sex with men right away because you feel it. This is
Yeah.
my suggestion for this talk, and I
Yeah.
have to finish up now. I hope this has been helpful.
Thank you very much, John. And just I want to ask you the last but not least, the final message for women in Poland. I hope it's not the last interview, it's just the first, because we covered 3 questions, but I have 100 questions, and
Oh my
I
goodness.
really, no, no, not for today, of
Yeah,
course,
yeah, yeah.
but I really loved what you mentioned today. It's really amazing tips. And I promise you, if you agree, we will publish this interview in Woman Power Poland, all around Poland.
Oh, of
So
course. Yeah. What I would love is go ahead and send me an email with all your questions if you have that you were
we
planning
will,
to ask.
the last question for this interview is just send a short message to Polish women right now that try to, to be too nice, I would say, because this is the problem here. And on the other side, or we are too nice or too masculine, I will be alone and I will handle everything. So, what's
Yeah.
your final message?
Well, my final message is that I love Polish women. Okay, I've been to
Thank
Poland
you.
many times. My assistant is a Polish woman,
Halina.
Helena. Yeah, she's Polish.
Oh, amazing. I didn't know
Right.
that.
I I love women who want to give, but what I make sure as a man is that I make sure that I'm giving what they're needing. And for Polish
Yes.
women to know, men don't know what they don't know. Men just know
Mhm.
in the past the way men were. But we have to make a change. We'll never make that change. We don't understand what our emotional need is. We think our emotional need
Mhm.
is just sex, but actually what our emotional need is to feel appreciated. That's a key
True.
thing. Look what I can do for you. As a
Mhm.
so when you as a people pleaser, the way you're going to please him is ask him to do little things. So you have to explain to him that, for me as a woman, here's one exercise. This is not yet in any of my books, so I'll do this. But I want to say this is only an hour. We've tip of the iceberg. In my book Beyond Mars and Venus, I talk a lot of ways you can ask men to do things for you that will allow you to come back to your female side. I mean, just think about it. Let's say you're carrying a heavy box and some guy walks up and says, "Oh, let me carry that for you." How do you feel inside? Now, many women will feel, "Oh, that feels good." Some women will
Yes.
go, and some women will go, "No, I can do it myself." That means you're way on your male side. Okay. So, what you want to be able to do is have that feeling of, "Oh, I don't have to do that. That's nice. That's nice."
Yes. I
Uh,
learned it from you. Thank you, John, really.
yeah.
And
So,
that's
so
amazing.
let's analyze that for a
Yes.
moment. And we don't have much time, but just for a moment,
Okay.
time. Uh, is he's doing something for you that you could do for yourself.
Yes.
You don't have to because he's going to do it for you. That's the
Mhm.
logic. And that's the logic of romance. I open the car door. She says, "Oh, I can do that." I said, "Honey, you give me so much. You take care of me and so many people tonight. Let me do everything for you." See
Yes.
how good that feels? And I take her to a restaurant. Somebody cooks for us. She can cook for us, but she doesn't
Mhm.
have to. So what women get into is a snowball effect of I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. That's called a pattern. And there's something in psychology called a pattern interrupt. All you have to do is stop the snowball and it doesn't keep getting bigger and bigger just for a few minutes. So ask your partner to do little romantic things for you. And one of those things is every day or every other day is you put your hand up, 5 fingers, and you say, "What I want to do with you," you explain this to your partner. "I want to be happier and I feel like I'm always
Mhm.
pushing." So even 5 minutes of you doing something for me every day, you already do so much and you're so wonderful. But there's this thing where I get caught up and this would help me. Already you're asking for help. It'll only take 5 minutes, little jobs. So during that 5 minutes, I'm going to ask you to do something that I could do for myself and I won't
Yeah.
have to because you're going to do it for me. It could be make me a cup of tea. It can make me a cup of coffee. It could be massage my feet. It could be go get the oil and massage my feet. It could be go clean up the kitchen for 5 minutes. Whatever it might be, you have to, your mind's busy. Think about all the
Yeah.
things you have to do. Ask him to do one of those things for you. that would take 5 minutes. And because it's only 5 minutes, he'll go, okay, I'll do that if it's going to make you really happy. And it will make you happier and gradually lower your stress when your brain is going, oh, I can always
Mhm.
ask for help. I can always ask for help. That's something that strong women are not comfortable with, is asking for help from people they love. So this will start changing that pattern, make a huge difference in relationships and help them come back to their female side.
Thank you very much, John. That was amazing to meet you and to see you and to listen to your wisdom. And I'm a great fan of you. And I definitely I will drop you an email for more, a little bit more. But who knows? Maybe let's meet in Poland. But that we will discuss later on.
I'll look forward to that. I look forward to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye bye.